In this lesson, we're going to learn the three main types of rhythms used in counting music, and they're going to look and sound like this. I'm going to just play them on a 1 chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E. So as you're learning in the concept videos, there are three main types of rhythms that are used in counting music most of the time: quarter notes, eighth notes, and 16th notes. So we want to get really good at playing those three types of rhythms with your chords, and that's what we're going to do on this video. So rather than play different chords, we're just going to choose one chord so that you can really focus on the rhythm part of it. And then as you get good at playing those rhythms, you can of course add them into changing chords as well. For this lesson, we'll just use the one chord with your right hand, and then again left hand octaves or the left hand thumb, whichever you're doing for your left hand, with that as well. We're just going to play one measure of quarter notes into one measure of eighth notes and then into one measure of 16th notes, with the goal of keeping the counting the numbers exactly steady and even the whole time. Okay? So you remember quarter notes is where you play every time you count a number, and the most common number to go up to when you're counting is 4. So basically that would be 4 4 time, and that would be counted 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's what we've been using so far when we're playing chord progressions. Already we've been playing in quarter notes. Okay, so you're already really good at this, and now we're going to start adding in the other types of rhythms, but keeping that rhythm steady. So as we count, we're going to start fairly slow so that by the time we get to 16th notes, we can still play them and keep the rhythm steady. So again, those quarter notes will just be, we're going to play quarter notes with your right hand and what's called a whole note with your left hand. So whether you're playing the octave or just the thumb, you're just going to play it on beat number 1 and hold it out through the whole measure. So no matter what type of rhythm we're playing, that's what the left hand's going to do, along with pressing the pedal down and holding that throughout the measure as well. So quarter notes again are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you'll remember moving into eighth notes, those numbers still stay at the same speed, but now we're going to add another count in between the numbers, and we're going to play another time. For every time we count a number, we're going to play twice, and that second time is called and. So that's going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You'll notice I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on the numbers and a little less on the ands, and that just gives it a better feel most of the time. So again, that's going to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. One more time. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's counting in eighth notes. And moving from one measure of quarter notes into one measure of eighth notes would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now moving into 16th notes, again the numbers are going to stay at the same speed, but now every time we count a number, we're going to play 4 times. And those counts are called E and A. Right? So we're going to count 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. And that'll sound like this. 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Again, we're keeping the pedal down and the left hand down the whole measure, and we're just playing the 16th notes with your right hand. You'll notice how I'm putting a little bit more emphasis on the number still, and the E and A's get a little less, right? So it's going to sound like 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. One more time on 16th notes, that'll sound like 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. So moving from one measure of quarter notes into one measure of eighth notes into another measure of 16th notes, keeping it all steady, will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And then moving back to quarter notes again would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is going to be your mission this week, to get 100 correct repetitions on moving from one measure of quarter notes into one measure of eighth notes into one measure of 16th notes, keeping the rhythm completely steady. So keeping that counting the space between the numbers at exactly the same speed. So 2 more times on that will sound like this. Quarter notes first. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 16ths. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and quarters. 2, 3, 4 to eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And now 16ths, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so your coach will get you started with this, and then you can complete your remaining repetitions at home. You'll be really good at moving between all those 3 main types of rhythms by the end of this week. So now I'd like to talk about how to get all of your chords in the major key that we already know into all 12 major keys. As you know, there are 12 possible major keys that you can play all your chords in. And we've so far learned them in the key of C major. And that again is the 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 2, 3, and number 7 chords. So you can play any song using just what we just played right there in the key of C major. But a lot of times a song might be in another major key, any one of the 12 possible major keys. So first, let's memorize what the names of the black keys are, because we haven't talked about that yet. You're really good at remembering what the names of these notes are. You remember C, D, E, F, G, A, and B, and then back to C. So those are all the names of the white keys. And the black keys are named around these white keys. So the black keys have 2 possible names. So they are named by the 2 white keys around them. Okay, so this black key between C and D could either be called C sharp because it's 1 note higher sounding than C, the C note, or it could be called D flat because it's 1 note lower sounding than D. Over here between D and E, this black key could be either called D sharp or E flat because it's 1 higher than D and 1 lower than E. There is no sharp or flat between E and F. And you'll also notice there's not a sharp and flat between B and C. But all the other ones have a possible sharp or flat note using these black keys. So again, here would be F sharp because it's 1 higher than F, or it could be called G flat because it's 1 lower than G. This one right here between G and A would be either G sharp or A flat, and this one right here would be either A sharp because it's 1 higher than A, or B flat because it's 1 lower than B. Does that make sense? So again, we have C sharp or D flat, D sharp or E flat, F sharp or G flat, G sharp or A flat, and A sharp or B flat. So those are all the possible keys, and it really ends up being only 12 if you count all of the keys possible. They just these 5 black keys just simply could be named, have 2 different names to them. So we're just going to, in reality, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 before you get back to C again. So those are all the possible keys that you could play in. So we already are really good at playing the chords in the key of C. And so now to get into the other keys, there's a couple ways we can do that if you have a keyboard. And there's only one way you can do that if you have a traditional piano, an acoustic piano. So I'm going to show you the easy way with keyboard using the transpose button. On a lot of keyboards there's a button that's called transpose, and what that means is a button that allows you to shift the key, still play all of your chords as if they were in the key of C, but the keyboard itself will change the pitch so you can go either higher or lower. So that's the easy way to do that if you have a keyboard. And then the more traditional way, which you would want to learn also, is how to play all of your chords and all of your scales in all 12 of those keys. And that's the option that you're going to have at the to continue on in level 1 and get all your major chords learned, or you also have the option to just continue on and learn about the minor keys in level 2 and the rock and blues keys in level 3, and then learn all of the different 12 versions of all those keys later. So that's totally up to you, and your coach can help you out with whichever version you'd like to take in your lessons. So let's learn about how to use the transpose button. So on this keyboard there's a button that's called transpose, and you just hit that button, and then there are 2 a plus and a minus key here, so you can go either higher than that. So you'll notice I'm playing, let's say, this C chord right here. If I hit the plus button, it'll move it up to the key of C sharp, but I'm still playing that C chord, right, as if it was a C. But the keyboard is transposing it for me, so I don't have to play it up in the key of C sharp. Does that make sense? So I could go up again to the key of D, D sharp or E flat, and so forth. I could go all the way up if I wanted to. Or you can go down, I believe, with this transpose button. So there's 0. I can go lower down to the key of B. It's taking me one note lower than where I started. I could go down to B flat, to A flat or G sharp, to G, and so forth. So I'll put it back to 0. So that's how you can play all of your chords in any of the 12 keys with a keyboard using the transpose button at this point, because you're really good at moving them around in the key of C. But if you have a song that you want to learn that's in a different key, you can figure out how many steps to go up by counting your keys. So let's just do that real quick. Let's say you wanted to learn a song, or play a song in the key of G, and you know that it's a 1, let's just say 5, 6, 4. So that's right there, I'm playing it in the key of C, but let's just say that you want to play that song in its original key, and let's say that original key is G. So we would use the transpose button, and we'd have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 possible steps, right, to get to that G. So that's what I'll do. I'm just going to hit the plus button up to the number 7, and now we're in the key of G. So I'll play that 1. Notice how it sounds a lot higher. 5, 6, 4. And now you're still playing the chords that you're really good at moving around, but now you're in the key of G. So you can do that for any of the keys, and you can go either higher than middle C or lower than middle C to whichever key you'd like to be in. So again, that is just the easy way to do it if you have a keyboard. And again, these buttons here are only on this quick keyboard. They might look or be labeled differently depending on the keyboard you have. And there are some keyboards that don't have a transpose option as well, just to be aware of that. But if you have one, that's an easy way right now for you to play any song that's in a major key in any of the 12 possible keys. And look to the additional videos to learn how to play all of your chords and scales in every 12 key without using the transpose button, because that's really important also. On your phase 3 chart this week, we have chords in C major with your right hand, along with the left hand octaves or just your thumb. We also have chords in C major with your left hand, playing the C major scale forwards and backwards with your right hand. Now that you've learned this much, go ahead and talk to your coach about what else might be possible for you to play now.